I'll take it.
Are you sure you're not interested? I was like, don't ask me again.
And it's a bad hair day too.
So she's like, scream for me, and then it's just that silence.
It was a good risk to take, and it was great.
Boom! I'm gonna try and give you a friend, and then I was like,
I wish you had like a granny mask.
That would be so cool, or like a ghost uniform.
And everybody was like totally freaked out.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Jota. Hello.
Hello, Mark.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. I am Mark Sugiyama from Eclectic Arts, based here in Seattle, Washington. Thank you so much for joining me on this Wednesday, Hump Day, March 10th, 2021. And it's actually a really nice day up here in Seattle. It's sunny, it's probably pushing 50 degrees, and kind of tells me spring is around the corner. And yeah, again, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm looking forward to talking to my guest. As always, I have a little bit of housekeeping to go through, including what's coming up. Tomorrow, Thursday, it's an early one, well, kind of early, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, I have The Treatment joining me, and they are a British rock band. If you're into No Frills, AC/DC type of rock, they have a new album coming out, so I'll be talking to, I believe it's 2 members of the band, so that'll be fun tomorrow morning. And then I have a pending interview tomorrow at noon with a singer-songwriter from Colorado. I'm still actually waiting to, it was firmed up, but I'm kind of waiting for some other things to happen with her, so hopefully that'll happen at noon, but if not, we might have to reschedule it. And then Friday, I'm off from the virtual world, but I will, I've got plenty of other media stuff to be doing with the film festival and other things that are going on. And then Saturday night, the Fun Table Sessions return, which will be round 3 for 2021 and round 22 overall. And that's where it's kind of like a virtual happy hour hangout session with guests that I've interviewed in the past. And sometimes there's a few exceptions to people that have not interviewed yet. And this particular session, we have someone who's been with me before. She's been with me before twice during the Fun Table Sessions. We have somebody brand new who I actually just recently interviewed about a week ago. And then we have someone who I have not interviewed yet, but she is a local musician that I know, and it'll be great to reconnect with her because I haven't talked with her in, I don't know, sometime before the pandemic happened. So those 3 individuals will be joining me to just shoot the breeze about things on Saturday night. That's at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And if you'd like to join us, everything's always on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. And speaking of which, if you happen to be watching on any of those platforms, if you could subscribe on YouTube or follow me on as Eclectic Arts on Facebook or Twitch, I greatly appreciate it. Any of your comments, usually from those 3 platforms, will come through on my end where I'll see it. So if you would like me to ask something of our guest, I will usually try to get to it if I can. And quickly, this streaming service is not free for me. It does cost money. And so if you're so inclined to make any kind of tip or donation, it is a PayPal Me link, which is there. It's always in the description of every YouTube video that I have. Same with the Facebook videos, the live streams that go out. So if you want to go and make a tip later, that's greatly, greatly appreciated. It helps keep these things going and helps keep me going. So again, it's in the description of the YouTube video and the Facebook video, and it's somewhere on Twitch too, but it's kind of hidden. So anyway, that's where that is. Take this off, go into the comments. Hey, Steve, nice to see you and catch me in the, okay, yeah, I understand. There's all kinds of streams going on right now, but thank you for saying hi on YouTube right now. So let's kind of get to everything. My guest today is a creative and artistic musician from Los Angeles. Her new song and music video, Weapon, just recently was released. Please welcome to the Eclectic Arts Virtual Studio, Bara Hari.
Hello.
Hi,
how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Beat you to it. I'm doing great. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So let's talk. I want to learn about everything in the background, but let's kind of start with what's front and present, which is Weapon. And,
yeah.
let's start with the song itself, and then we'll move into the music video. So what can you tell me about how did that song get formulated and created?
Well, I wrote a bunch of songs when quarantine started. I figured like, well, I have a lot of time to do nothing, so might as well write stuff. And like I was going through all the motions of, that feeling of like everything's on hold. I'm really upset, but everyone else is upset. And so it kind of just made me go into my head a lot and think about what was bothering me the most at the time. And something that has always been like a major issue for me is like ever since the Me Too and the Time's Up movement started, like I've had some very negative experiences with people in the music industry and the entertainment industry and all that, and I never felt like I quite had the voice to say something about it. So I figured that what better way to do it than through music. So that was the inspiration for the song. It was kind of like, how do I say this that it doesn't sound like I'm outright attacking somebody, but it sounds like more like I wanted to add a kind of fantasy element to it, which is why I chose the Kill Bill element. Because that movie is like, it's serious, but it's also really campy, and there's a lot of fantasy elements to it, and that's always been what draws me to it. It's like kind of takes the edge off of the serious subject, and makes it more palatable, but still gets a message across. So that was the inspiration for Weapon. It was like a song that was on the surface really upbeat and kind of poppy, but it has something to say about a serious issue in society. So that was pretty much the inspiration behind it.
Okay, well, thanks for sharing that. And I think what's interesting about it is, I think you do walk that line well between the serious message that it's putting out there, but at the same time, there's this other layer on top of it that kind of mixes together with it. So you kind of have these two different angles coming from it. And I'm just curious too, like, so when you're writing the songs during this pandemic quarantine time, and Weapon being one of them, what's your songwriting process like? Can you kind of walk me through that?
Sure. Well, first of all, most of my songs don't ever sound like even remotely the same from when I start them to when I finish them. So I like during the quarantine, I was impressed with myself because I had written like 10 songs in the span of about 6 weeks. So I was just like, yay, I'm gonna have an album. I'm gonna have 2 albums by the time this quarantine's over. And then you go through that process of like, I hate this. This is all crap. Like, I'm never gonna work again. I never want to touch anything related to music ever again. So I kind of just like left it alone, and I would come back and I go, okay, well, that's a really good kick drum. So I'm just gonna keep on working on that song and change the BPM and all that stuff. So mostly when I approach songwriting, I start with a beat because I feel like if the beat is missing, then that song's just not gonna motivate me to work on it anymore. So that's number one to me. I don't ever really get to writing vocals until the end. So I kind of just like that's kind of an organic process. Like I like to get the like brunt of the songwriting out before I actually get to the vocal aspect of it. And it's always interesting to like figure out the psychology of like why I write the song about what it actually is in regards to what sounds that I created for it. So it's kind of just like, I don't know, I wish I could give you like a more of like a, well, it's such an artistic and like, like soul searching experience, but it's just kind of like all scattered. Like the way that my brain works is just kind of like a mess. So it's just like, I'm like a chaotic person. And so that's kind of my songwriting approach. It's just kind of like, blah, 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 blah. I got to get all this stuff out. And then later I hate it. And then I come back and I kind of edit it. And then I hate it again. And then later I come back and edit it. And then I love it. And then I can't wait to share it with everybody. And then I hate it again. And then I love it again. So that's kind of it. It's kind of a mess.
Well, I consider myself an artistic person. I'm a musician and a photographer and a writer and all that. And I think what you described is pretty, I think a lot of artistic creative types can relate to it. Because I don't know how many times, even like for me writing a review, I'll write something and after I look at that paragraph, I delete all of it. I go back.
Yeah, exactly.
And that sucked. And so I'll start it again. And then I'm like, well, that one's okay. And I'll keep on going. And then if I take a break from it, that's a problem. Because then I'll look back at it again. I'll find something I don't like. And then I'll say, and I start all over.
Yeah, totally. And then like, I just like can't take myself too seriously most of the time. So sometimes like I'll be writing this song about like, I'm so sad and depressed and the world is pain and everything. And then later I'll come back and I'll just like, I'm so embarrassed. So I don't know, like my last EP that came out last year, I wrote that at a time where I was just like, I was going through awful things. And so it kind of reflects in the music. Like it's a lot more serious and, you know, sadder and whatever. And the music that I created this year, like I kind of wanted to make the music that I would want to listen to during hard times. Like I wanted music that still said something, but it was more uplifting to listen to. Like, not uplifting, like that wouldn't be the word, but like just more exciting to listen to instead of just like, I think that we had enough sadness in 2020 where I kind of just wanted to make music that was more fun to listen to, as opposed to, you know, more like, you know, straight out of the gate, like sad music. So yeah.
All right, no, that makes perfect sense. I was telling you pre-show about how I got started with all these virtual interviews, that I was on this tour with the wonderful band Alice from LA.
Yeah.
And, you know, when we were doing that, we started on May 22nd. So like in terms of society, we were like a week away from all the, you know, riots and, you know, Black Lives Matter, all those movements going on. And so some of the interviews started off very seriously and they kind of stayed that way depending on how the guests felt, how I felt.
Yeah.
And it's always like, so I try to find times when I could have some levity because I needed it. And especially like moving into this year, it's like, okay, yeah, last year was so freaking heavy and we're still dealing with it now.
Totally, we still are.
It's like, okay, can I take a breath and kind of find some other kind of angle, because I know other people are feeling the same way. So can we do something that's going to, in my case, perhaps entertain or just kind of take their mind off of everything for a little bit. And it's not easy, you know, but other times it's like, well, I think I found that right mix of, you know, the tone that I was looking for. I guess that's the word I was looking at, trying to find.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it comes to a point where you just kind of want to like you have to go through all the motions, you know, you have to feel all the things and get that out of your system. And then, you know, you make the decision that like, okay, well, I've sat there long enough and now it's time to be the light. I don't know, it sounds so like new agey or whatever, but like be the light that you want to emanate to other people, you know, like be the inspiring person or whatever.
You know what, and it really is true though. I mean, once you've processed everything like you should do, because you naturally need to get those emotions out of you, but then it's like, I've talked about this with other guests, do you stay there and quote unquote be a victim of the situation, or do you try to move on from it and pick up the pieces and do whatever is going to make you happy?
Yeah.
And
exactly.
I choose to try to do things that make me happy. Doesn't mean I don't get knocked down every now and then, because I do, but
yeah, totally.
But overall, I want to move forward and try to be that light, or that spark for anybody. It's like, oh, at least I got to watch something, you know, at noon on Wednesday that was during my time or something, just to kind of learn about a new artist even.
Yeah, and you know, not everyone processes things differently. Like I don't blame people for, you know, completely shutting down and just doing nothing all of 2020. Like it was, if there was ever a time to just like let yourself be depressed and like unmotivated and whatever, it was that. But you know, like I think that the way that my anxiety works is that I need to be like hyper productive, because I just feel like that's like my therapy, you know, like if it's not music, it's something else where I just have to constantly be like expressing my anxiety or my whatever emotion that I'm feeling through my hands, through something that I'm doing, something that I'm making. And not everyone has to be that way. It's just like, you know, there's different types of people, and neither one of them is right or wrong. But you know, I saw that a lot of people last year kind of started off that way, especially in the music scene. There was a lot of people that started off by feeling like, well, this year's a waste. I'm not going to get anything done. I don't even feel like writing. I don't want to do anything. And it was just like weird. Like everything went silent. Like you could just feel it. And then somewhere around like, I think not even till like October, you started to see the complete opposite where people were just like, well, this is not going away. So I'm going to start doing something. And now it's just exploding. Like I feel like there's so much new music out right now that I cannot even like keep track of it. There's like, which is great because you're starting, like I am a firm believer and there's like a unified field of consciousness. It's like you feel like if the energy is off in the world, like as a collective, we're all going to feel it. And it takes a bunch of really strong people to lift the like energy up and the vibration up to kind of get everyone going again. And I want to think that like this year is when that's all starting up again. Like people seem like the pendulum has swung the other way. Like we are going to be productive and driven, and we're going to start getting shit done again. Sorry, I don't know if I can swear on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Say what you want.
Yeah. So that's where I'm feeling right now. And it's like a good kind of anxiety now because I'm seeing people start to like dust, shake the dust off and get back to work. And it's pretty exciting.
I absolutely agree with what you just said.
Yeah.
And I was in that position back, a year ago, March last year. It's like, I wasn't feeling like doing much of anything. I totally understand when people are like, they didn't want to come on and do an interview. It's like, no, I understand 1,000%. If you're not feeling it, sometimes I'm not feeling it either. And plus, based on what we were told through the media, oh, this might end in June. It might end through the summer. It might.
Oh my gosh, I know.
And you're right. Once we kind of got to like the fall, people kind of realized, okay, so this is kind of what we're dealing with. It's not, we've been dealing with it for, 7-8 months at this point. So let's kind of keep moving forward and figure out, so what do we do now? Right now you can feel this kind of groundswell happening, which it's really exciting. It's nice to see that so many people are starting to figure out that, I have something to say now, or I have something I want to produce or put out artistically, and it's all kind of coming out. So it's just going to keep, I think, growing and growing during the course of this year.
Yeah. And there are so much subject matter to draw from too. Like there were so many events last year. It's insane. Like you could write, albums and albums based off of 1 year alone. And so I think finally everybody's starting to, they've digested it, and now they're making their art based on the experience that they lived.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of making art, and you talked about the Kill Bill vibe that's going on with the Weapon music video to kind of steer it back towards that. It sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, did you have complete control about how that music video was made? Who did you work with to produce? Because it looks great. We're going to actually show it. We're going to show it really soon too.
Cool. Yeah. So funny story. Like, I've never had a budget for music videos. Like, so what I did was I just rented like a small studio in LA for a few hours, and my boyfriend shot that on my iPhone. And like I made the costumes for it. I did the concept, the directing. I do the editing for all my videos. So yeah, it's like pretty much the team is always just me and him, like me and my partner.
Okay, that's awesome that you got creative with your iPhone and had the ideas and did the costume. I'm just kind of curious. I got a curious mind.
Yeah.
Do you, when you're creating your costumes, do you have like a background, like any kind of cosplay kind of things or wardrobe stuff, or?
Yeah. So like I've done a bunch of stuff in my life. For a long time I modeled. So I was a model, and then like they always ask you to bring, well, because I never did like commercial modeling, but I did art modeling, and they always ask you to bring wardrobe. So like I started taking interest in making my own stuff and like my own costumes, my own props and stuff. And like I really started doing costuming work in like 2016 because I had a surgery, so I couldn't work for several months, and I was just home all the time. And I was just like, I had just watched the movie Crimson Peak by Guillermo del Toro, and the costuming in that movie is just like so amazing. So I figured like, my first dress, let's make one of those dresses. Why not? It'll be so easy. So I spent like a month or two trying to figure out how to make one of the dresses from that. It didn't it came out okay, but it wasn't, amazing or anything. But that kind of like got me obsessed with sewing because my mom did it growing up. So, but I never took interest in it because I thought it was like way too tedious or whatever. But nowadays, because I have like big expectations and no budget, so I figure like do everything myself. So I've been sewing my own Halloween costumes for several years now. And then I started just doing like more casual wear, making my own clothes, making a lot of dresses, making props. Yeah, so I make everything. Add that to the list of things I need to do when I'm shooting a video and doing photo shoots and all that stuff.
That's awesome. And now, once this interview is done, I know I'm going to probably go back and look at your videos and some of the other imagery that I see, knowing that you're making these things.
Yeah.
And just curious again, are you to a point where you would be like ever hiring out your services to make something for someone else?
Yeah, totally. Granted time allows, I would totally do that. I'm also like starting to think about renting out the things that I have made so far, because like a lot of them, like those, I don't know if you can see, but there's like a giant pair of wings in the background right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just shot a video with those, and now they're just kind of gonna sit there. So I figure like they're mechanical, like they're movable. So I figure like if anyone ever wants to rent those out as a prop, like I'm down to do that. Yeah. Costuming's more of like a hobby though for me, because once you do anything for as a job for too long, you kind of start to hate it. So costuming is definitely like, because it's probably the most tedious thing that I do. It takes a lot of time, a lot of concentration, a lot of money, a lot of patience. But yeah, so like right now I really like the benefit of being able to do it for myself. That way I get exactly what I want and it fits me just right. Cause I'm also really short, so it's hard to find things that fit me properly. But yeah.
No, that's amazing. As for people that have been watching a lot of my interviews, they know that for a period of time I was working as a model photographer. So when you're talking about that, I was like, okay, I know exactly what you're talking about. And some of the models I worked with also were extremely skilled in making their own wardrobe and costumes. And we did a really elaborate Christmas Carol based shoot with one model who made everything. So all the ghosts,
wow,
Scrooge. Yeah, it was. I think we started talking about that like in August, and we shot it in December because she needed a lot of time to get that whole thing.
Yeah, that's not even that much time, considering how much work something that like in that time period would require.
That is true, because that's when the model's the one who brought it up to me, and I was kind of like, well, we're in summer now, so you think you can get done by before Christmas? And she's like, Mark, I have time. I said, okay. I don't know what your timeline's going to be. I was like, that's not enough to me, but she made it work, and it was like a 12-hour shoot. I remember that day when we did it.
Wow.
But it was wonderful. I mean, it was all worth it in the end, getting everybody together, all the work she put into it. And so when those collaborations happen, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing how much work you'll put into something that's just like for one day's use for like it's all done in a few hours. And it's like 3 months of work for a few hours. But at least the footage or the photographs that you take last forever, hopefully, after that.
Yeah, what we won't do for art.
I know, seriously, we do crazy things.
Well, I think this is a great time to let's show Weapon, and then we'll come back after it's done airing, and we'll talk about that, and also some more about your background and your music. So
cool.
Everybody out there, this is Bara Hari, and this is Weapon. So let me get over here to the video screen, and we'll run this, and I'll be back as soon as it's done airing. Wow. That is, now that I know what I know, that you and your partner did everything with that video. So did you rent that studio and just at least bang out the principal photography work like in one day, and then you went and edited it for several days afterward, kind of a situation?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of just like, I knew that I just wanted like colorful background, so like it was pretty simple because we just, the lighting was easy, and then I knew in my head beforehand what I wanted. I wanted something like high energy and kind of kitschy. Like I wanted more of like an anime vibe to it, like like a Kill Bill anime crossover. I don't know, I just wanted it to be like fun, and I wanted to kind of incorporate also some like comic booky elements to it, and I don't really know how to do that many like effects, like video effects or anything, so I figured like just work with what I got and just like make sure that it's cut quickly, and I like how it came out though. It's pretty simple. Sometimes less is more.
No, like I said before we saw it and after, I mean, it looks amazing. And it just shows how much talent you and your partner have to, do so much with so little.
Yeah, and I mean, like sometimes I feel like when you're limited in your resources, you have to get more creative in how you use the ones that you do have. So you just like, we're teaching ourselves how to edit video, how to light video better. Like, I have a friend who's a videographer, so he's teaching me a little bit about lighting, and oh my God, that just like takes everything to the next level. Like you can have a simple shot, simple background, but if the lighting's good and their movement's good, then you can make a pretty decent video with a very low budget on your phone.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. And I know there's a couple, I think one of the documentaries that I had reviewed, some of the footage was shot with an iPhone.
Oh, wow.
I was kind of like, it was? That's why I had to kind of go back.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell what parts were.
Yeah. Well, there's an app also called Filmic that you can buy. It's $15, and it just like allows you to stabilize the video, so you can adjust the white balance, you can adjust a lot of things in the app that you can't do in the normal phone, like in the phone camera. So that's a little secret, I guess, if you want to like try to make videos with your phone, you can just download that app.
Well, there you go, everybody. Go
there you go
get
giving
creative.
away all the secrets.
And so I'm curious also about, so when did the Bara Hari start for you, as a musical project that it is? How far back do we go?
Not too far. 2017. As I said, I was modeling before that, and I was also doing dance. So I was a dancer, but I developed an autoimmune disease that pretty much made me have to stop that completely. So, like as I mentioned, the EP that I wrote was pretty sad because like I was channeling all the emotions that I felt in that year or two that it took in order to get like a diagnosis, and like I had to stop working, I had to stop performing, I had to stop pretty much doing anything. And I was just like, and another reason why the quarantine was so hard on me was because it reminded me of that year where I couldn't leave the house because of pain. I have an inflammatory condition called ankylosing spondylitis. That's a mouthful. But basically it's like rheumatoid arthritis, but mostly attacks the big joints. So like the SI hip joints, my lower back, ribs. So, things that are important for daily activities. So my partner at the time was my roommate. So he was just my roommate at that point. He allowed me to use his studio because he's a musician as well. So he had his home studio set up, and I asked him like, I kind of feel like I lost everything. Like I can't really express myself creatively the way that I was used to. I'm finally going to start trying to make music. And I was 27 already at the time. So I figured like, whatever, what do I have to lose? And I wrote a bunch of horrible songs for a couple years until I finally started getting the hang of it. Started finding more like what my voice was and what like my skill skill range was. And so yeah, I started in 2017. Very kind of quick process actually. Like from there to now, like I've learned production pretty quickly because that the first few songs that I released were all written by me, but they were produced by my partner Ian. So I would just like get them to a point where they sounded like demos, and he would take them to the next level, like, you know, add like a more dynamic beat, or like kind of chop certain parts out and give suggestions like that. So he was my co-producer, collaborator for the first album. But he has helped me with a couple of the songs that I'm writing now, but mostly I do my own production now. Because it's like, I also like am so upset at the music industry and how there's just like not enough female producers out there. Like you always kind of assume that it's a man that produced the song, wrote the song. Like there's always a man behind every woman or whatever. And it's just kind of like so unfair, because I know that there are so many talented women out there as well. And I am seeing a shift now, though. I am seeing a lot of producers that are female that run their own music project as well as do their own production. Some that even do their own mixing and mastering, which is super impressive. I'm not there yet, but you know, it's so that was kind of the journey from there to now, because I didn't really have any musical experience before that, except for growing up, my parents put me in piano lessons, so I did that for like 5 years. But that was it. Like I learned how to play other people's songs, and I never thought that I could ever do it myself, because it just felt like I was always more of a visual artist. And doing audio just sounded so daunting to me, because I just like didn't even know where you would start, like, you know. But eventually I figured it out.
Yeah, no, I'd say you did more than figured it out. You've got to come up with some really great music. So
thank you.
Yeah, I love the fact that you're in a position where you're dealing with something really horrible, and then you're trying to figure out a way to express yourself, and you went to something that was basically foreign to you in music.
Yeah.
Kept chipping away at it, and you know, not liking things initially, and then starting to learn more and do more, and start adding to that pile and that foundation, and just watching it grow. I think that's always commendable for anybody when they start to just kind of just jump in and kind of see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just like completely in awe at like the human brain and how we don't even use all of its capacity. And so I just kind of like always challenge myself to learn new things, because I just feel like I want to get the most out of it, you know, and as many experiences as I can out of my life. Because like ever since I turned 30, I had like this like mortal dilemma where I'm just like, oh my god, my days are numbered, even though it sounds silly, you know. So like now I feel that pressure like on overdrive. I'm like, oh my god, I have to learn how to do this, I have to learn how to do that. You know, especially with like a condition like mine. I've been lucky, like knock on wood, that I haven't really had too bad of a flare up in about a year and a half now. So especially when I'm feeling good, I feel like turbo productive. I feel like I have to make the days that I feel good count. So that's kind of what leads me to do all the things that I do. I just feel like there are so many experiences to be had. There's so much to learn, and the mind is a terrible thing to waste. So like do as much as you can with what you've got.
That's a wonderful approach, and you also said, just, you know, for personal reasons of kind of why you're moving forward with things and trying to take advantage of the time, you know, when things are going well, and you're feeling motivated to do it. And even for those folks out there that, you know, aren't that, if they've been watching these interviews, I talked about this with some other guests where I'm like, well, I'm a photographer, I'm a writer, I'm a musician, so I've got enough stuff that I need to work on. But it became a cop out of like, well, what would put me out of my comfort zone to start something new? Well, drawing or painting would. And then I was like, well, I need to start walking the walk kind of thing. So I started doing it. So like this stuff you see behind me, that's my stuff that I did.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah, thanks. And it was just like, it's a work in progress. And it's like, hey, I actually don't absolutely hate these things, so I'll put them on my wall and
Yeah.
kind of roll with it. I love that mentality. And I've told people too, the same thing, that I'm 50. So I've always looked at it like, okay, now I'm coming down the other side of that hill. So like, whatever you're going to do, you should always be doing it. And it's never too late to start either. So that's the other thing.
No.
I kind of try to preach to people.
Yeah, exactly. As long as your body's still functioning, like there's still time. And just like I'm sure that you have found, like you said, out of your comfort zone, it's funny to notice the patterns in everything in life and how like the learning process is pretty similar for everything. You always, you start with the basics, then you kind of like, I think that studying other people's work is part of educating yourself as well. Like you kind of picking other people's work apart and seeing what makes it great or what makes it bad or what have you. It helps in your process of learning, and it's just as beneficial, in my opinion, as learning, like hands-on learning.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that's why people, I mean, you can't help but look at or listen to other musicians or look at other filmmakers or look at any other kind of thing. And just kind of saying, why does this make me feel a certain way? And it could be good or bad.
Yeah.
And that's
exactly.
That's very valuable information to know for your own process of what you're trying to create.
Yeah.
So I'm also curious that I think I read that the name Bara Hari came from two different performers. Is that right? Can you kind of explain where the name came from?
Yeah, so that's funny because like when I started my project, I was like, I just want to be Bara. So I really like old movies, silent movies. And Theda Bara was like one of the first silent film actresses that was like kind of known as like the goth girl. Like she was just like, she had an attitude about her and whatever. And I thought that was like really cool because you don't really hear about anyone that was like subculturally influenced back in the day. So Theda Bara was probably like the first superstar like of Hollywood, I guess. So I got the name from her. And then Mata Hari was like she was a Dutch exotic dancer. So she kind of used like both of those women used pseudonyms to kind of create this like larger than life personality, because at the end of the day, personally, they were very like shy, introverted people. And I felt that, it's like I feel that way myself. Like I can be cripplingly shy sometimes, but put me in a position of like where I am playing a character or like I'm putting on a performance or whatever, and that kind of just completely goes away. So that's where the pseudonym came from.
Well, that's awesome, because I remember, I think when I first saw it, I was like, what is that? I didn't know like what genre.
Yeah, it's a weird one.
But that makes it cool when you don't necessarily know exactly what it is as soon as you see the name. So it's kind of like it could be anything.
Yeah.
And it's for someone like me, it makes me curious. So then I start looking around and see what is this and figuring things out. And so I'm also curious. Let's talk about what do you have coming up now that Weapon's out? What's on deck?
Well, yesterday I just finished editing another video, so that should be coming out in I'd say in about 3 weeks to a month. I haven't decided the date yet. And then after that, there will be another EP coming out probably in like early June. And then other than that, I just did vocals on a song for my friend's band, Dread Risk. They're out of Austin, Texas. They're like a like EBM, like industrial band. The song is called Vacancy Architect, so it's really cool. Check it out. And I also just did a remix for somebody, so that's coming out on Friday. And other than that, I just have a few collaborations coming up, and then hopefully another set of singles and EP either late this year or beginning of next year. So I have my next moves planned out pretty well for the next year or so.
Yeah, it sounds like you're going to be very busy and definitely spread out through the course of the year, which is exciting. And something I've been asking a lot of my music guests recently is, do you have plans on and correct me if I'm wrong, but do you have plans to put in any of your music out in a physical format?
I've thought about it, but I also have like this guilt about it because I just like something that really bothers me is how much production there is out there and how much it like hurts the planet. You know what I mean? Like I feel bad making a bunch of like plastic CDs and like a bunch of stuff like that. So I thought about doing merch a while ago, and then I just thought about like I don't want to make a bunch of shirts that are just gonna sit in my garage or something and then just like, you know, end up in a landfill someday or something. So I am if I do anything physical, it would probably be something like I prefer vinyl over CD. So it would be just like a small run of vinyl for people that pre-order it. That way I know how many to make instead of just like making 200 and then having them sit around forever if they don't sell, you know. So that's about it. And then I also like want to kind of incorporate my visual art background into something. So maybe like make posters or like make like an art book, or like I also have a bunch of poetry that I wanted to put into a book that combined with like, you know, drawings or like visual art elements that I make or whatever. Like I wanted to get a little bit more creative with and more intentional with merch in the future. So that's where I'm at right now. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff to think about. I just don't want to like I don't want to add to just like the fast fashion or like the, you know, plastic production and all that stuff. So I know it's just more stuff that keeps me up at night.
Okay, no, I like the fact that you're very intentional, that you're obviously thinking about, you know, if I do merch, what do I want to do and how does this affect things? Because I don't have too many guests that actually bring that up. So I think that's really refreshing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that you're looking at it that way. And the pre-order thing is definitely a smart way to go. I have so many artists that come on and they do that type of thing. And I'm not talking about crowdfunding. I'm talking strictly about straight to the fans. Hey, if you spend $20, you get the vinyl, I'll autograph it, whatever. And that way you already have, you know, how many to press up. You don't get, like you're saying, you don't get stuck with boxes in your garage. And then everybody kind of wins in that situation.
Yeah, especially it's more budget friendly that way too, because it's like less out of my pocket because like vinyl production is so expensive. And rightfully so because it's a process. But yeah, it's also, like I said, it's more intentional. It's like I don't want to make a bunch of waste that, you know, I can prevent.
All right. Well, Bara Hari, it was so awesome getting a chance to talk to you and get to know you better. And I really I really appreciate you taking the time. And anytime you have something that's coming up, a new video, new song, something that you'd like to talk about further, I would love to reconnect again, and we can do this for round 2 or whatever you'd like to call it.
Yeah, cool. That sounds good.
Awesome. So have a good rest of your day down there in California. And everyone that's watching, and Queen, thank you for all the comments I see that you're putting in from YouTube. Thank you for watching out there. And yeah, go check out Bara Hari. I know you're on. Well, go ahead and if you want to plug all the platforms you're on.
Yeah, well, you can find me on YouTube. I don't have a custom URL or anything. You can just search me, Bara Hari. Same thing on Instagram, bara.hari. And then on Twitter, it's Bara X Hari. I had to like come up with all these like alternate usernames. And the same thing for Facebook. It's Bara X Hari.
Awesome. So there you go, folks. You can keep tabs on what Bara Hari is up to. And again, stay safe down there. And hopefully I can talk to you sooner than later.
Sweet. I'll talk to you later.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.